He was just relaxing at home when a stranger knocked on his door and told him to leave. The reason? She did not believe he lived there, and within minutes, she was calling 911. But what happens next will leave you speechless. Hidden cameras, secret messages, and a neighborhood with dark secrets hiding behind white fences. This is not just a story about one man's home, it is a story about who gets to belong and who gets watched. Stay until the end, because the truth that unfolds will shock you. And what this man discovers changes everything. Watch now. Like, comment, and share if you believe everyone deserves to feel safe in their own home. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. The sun hung low over the suburban rooftops. Birds chirped lazily from tree branches, swaying in the breeze. Jamal unlocked his front door, groceries balanced in both arms. The scent of fresh-cut grass drifted through the air. He stepped inside his home, cool, clean, familiar. The soft creak of the wooden floor greeted his return. He exhaled, relieved to finally be off his feet. Then, a knock. Not just a knock. Sharp, rapid, impatient. Jamal froze mid-step, grocery bag still in hand. He turned toward the door, confused. Peered through the peephole. A woman stood there, mid-40s. Blonde, tight jaw, tight posture. She wore oversized sunglasses and a sun hat that shadowed half her face. She knocked again, louder this time. Jamal opened the door slowly. "Can I help you?" he asked, polite but guarded. Her nose wrinkled as if something smelled off. "Yes," she said curtly. "I saw you go in there." Jamal blinked. "This is my house." She crossed her arms. "That is not possible. You do not live here." His jaw tightened. "I do. I moved in 3 months ago." She took a step back, pulled out her phone. "I am calling the police," she said. "You are trespassing." Jamal's stomach dropped. The air outside seemed to shift, denser, heavier. The sky looked the same, but everything felt different. He could hear the tap of her nails on the phone screen, the cold tone in her voice as she spoke to dispatch. "He is a black male," she said loudly, deliberately. He broke into the house across from mine. Jamal stood in the doorway, paralyzed. A strange numbness spread from his chest to his fingertips. His groceries were still on the floor. Eggs. Milk. Falling over slowly in the brown paper bag. A neighbor peeked from behind a curtain. Another stepped out across the street, phone in hand. He could feel the weight of their eyes. Every stare carried suspicion. Every glance burned. Then came the sirens, distant at first, growing louder, closer. A patrol car screeched to a halt. Another followed, lights flashing, the blue and red reflected off the windows of Jamal's home, off his car, off his skin. 2 officers stepped out. Hands near holsters, eyes locked on Jamal. "Step outside slowly, sir." Jamal raised his hands. His voice cracked as he spoke. "This is my house." Karen was still on the lawn, now pointing, still talking, still accusing. The officer's hand rested on his weapon. Identification now. Jamal reached slowly into his wallet. Every movement deliberate, calculated, terrified. He handed them his license. The officer stared at it, then looked at the house number, then back at Jamal. Karen's voice broke in again. "I know the real owner. They are white." The officer ignored her, checked something on his radio. Seconds dragged like hours. Then, a pause. An officer spoke into his shoulder mic. The other looked up at Jamal, expression unreadable. He handed the ID back. "Sorry, sir," he said flatly. "You do live here?" Karen's face twitched. "What? That cannot be right." The officer turned to her. "You are mistaken. Please leave the property," she scoffed. "This is absurd." But she backed away slowly, still mumbling under her breath, still glaring. Jamal stood there, frozen. The bags had spilled. Milk dripped across the porch. A single egg rolled off the step and cracked. He felt the tremble in his knees, in his chest, in his voice. "Do you want to press charges?" the officer asked. Jamal did not answer right away. His throat was dry, his palms were wet. The question echoed in his ears. The air still smelled like grass, but now there was something else beneath it. Rubber, metal, fear. He opened his mouth to respond. Jamal opened his mouth to respond, then closed it again. He looked at the officer, then at Karen. She was still watching, eyes narrow, arms folded tight. She did not look sorry, not even surprised, just angry, entitled, as if she had been inconvenienced, as if he had done something wrong. Jamal turned his gaze toward the cracked egg on the step. The yellow yolk oozed out slowly, sticky, silent, a perfect metaphor. He inhaled deeply. "I just want to go inside," he said quietly. The officer nodded. "You have that right," Karen scoffed again. "I was trying to protect the neighborhood." The officer glanced at her. "You are free to leave, ma'am." She lingered for a moment, then turned, walked back toward her house. He watched her disappear behind her white door, behind her white curtains, behind her white walls. The patrol cars pulled away slowly. The flashing lights faded into the distance. Silence returned, but it was a different silence now. He walked inside, closed the door gently behind him. The house felt colder, the walls tighter. He sat down on the bottom step of the staircase, put his head in his hands. Everything was the same, but nothing felt normal. His groceries lay spilled across the hallway floor. A bottle of olive oil had tipped, forming a dark, spreading pool. He stared at it, unblinking. Then the doorbell rang. A chill ran down his spine. He stood up slowly, moved toward the door again, looked through the peephole. Another woman, older, gray hair pulled back, a warm cardigan wrapped around her, a casserole dish in her hands. Jamal hesitated, then opened the door a few inches. "I saw what happened," she said softly. "I live 2 houses down." "I am so sorry." Jamal blinked. She held out the dish. "It is chicken and rice," she said. "Nothing fancy, just kindness, gentle, simple, unexpected." His throat tightened. He took the dish carefully. "Thank you," he whispered. She smiled. "If you ever need anything." Her voice trailed off, but the meaning lingered. She turned and walked away. This time Jamal did not feel watched. He felt seen, understood, for just a moment. The fear cracked, and something warmer pushed through. But the story was not over yet. Because that night, he heard something again, a soft tap, against the window. He turned off the lights, peered out through the blinds, and what he saw made his blood run cold. A shadow stood beneath the street lamp, motionless, watching. The light flickered above its head, casting eerie, broken flashes across the sidewalk. Jamal's breath caught in his throat. He leaned closer to the window, careful, silent. The figure did not move. It just stood there, facing his house. He reached for his phone, hands trembling slightly, No call, yet just eyes, staring, judging. He backed away from the window, heartbeat pounding in his ears. The house, once quiet, now buzzed with unease. Walls felt closer again, the lights too bright. He walked room to room, checking the doors, the windows, everything was locked. Still, he could feel the weight of that gaze, like it had pierced the glass, pierced his skin, and rooted itself deep in his bones. He returned to the living room, turned off every lamp. The house fell into shadow, but outside, the figure was still there, unmoving, unblinking. Jamal stood in the dark, gripping his phone. His thumb hovered over the emergency button. Then the shadow stepped forward, into the full light, and he saw the face. Not Karen, not a stranger. It was the neighbor from across the street, Mr. Thompson, white, retired, ex-military, always in his yard, always watching. Jamal had waved to him before, gotten nothing but a stiff nod in return. Now, that same man stood outside at midnight, hands behind his back, expression blank, and then a second shape appeared behind him, smaller, a teenage boy, probably his grandson, phone in hand. Recording. Jamal's stomach twisted. Were they waiting for him to come out, or were they hoping he would not? He stepped away from the window, sat down in the kitchen, lights off, heart racing, and then a loud knock on the door, 3 firm bangs, then silence. He froze. No one said a word. The knock came again, harder. This time, a voice followed, low, firm, unmistakable. Come out and explain yourself. Jamal's mouth went dry. His hands clenched into fists. He had done nothing wrong. But suddenly, he felt like a criminal in his own home. He stood up slowly and walked toward the front door, every step heavy. The floor creaked beneath him like a warning. He reached for the knob, and then his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. He opened it, and what he saw sent a bolt of fear through his spine. It was a photo of him, taken just now, from outside the window, captioned, "We are watching." Jamal's fingers trembled as he gripped the phone. His eyes scanned the message again. "We are watching." He looked toward the window. The blinds were mostly closed, just a sliver of space between the slats. Enough for a camera lens, enough for eyes. He dropped to the floor, crawled under the kitchen counter. His breath came shallow, fast. The phone buzzed again. Another photo. This time, from a different angle, from behind the house, the backyard, dark but not empty. A silhouette stood near the fence. Unmistakable, Jamal's world spun. How many were out there? How long had they been circling his home? This was no misunderstanding, no Karen mistake. This was something deeper, something deliberate. He dialed 911, spoke quickly, clearly. "There are people outside my house," he said. "They are taking pictures, threatening me." The dispatcher responded calmly. "Stay on the line. Officers are on the way." Jamal nodded, even though she could not see him. He stayed low. His heart thudded like a drum, every second dragged like wet cement. Then, another knock. Louder. Faster. Followed by a voice. Not a demand this time. A whisper, muffled through the door. "Come outside, Jamal. Let's talk like men." It was Mr. Thompson. No longer blank. Now mocking, almost amused. Jamal clenched his jaw, stayed silent. The dispatcher's voice was still in his ear. "Units are 2 minutes away," she said. "Stay inside. Do not engage." Then, a noise from the back, A metallic click, like a latch, like a gate. Someone was trying to get in. He moved to the hallway, peered toward the rear of the house. Shadows shifted outside the glass door. Footsteps, deliberate, slow. He backed away, grabbed a heavy lamp, just in case. Then, red and blue lights burst through the front window. Sirens howled, tires screeched. Jamal ran to the front. Looked out. Police cars. 3, maybe 4. Doors flew open. Officers jumped out, shouting, flashlights sweeping. Jamal opened the door just a crack. "I called you," he shouted. One officer looked up, spoke into his radio. Homeowner confirmed. More yelling. "From outside, not Jamal. Mr. Thompson. You are protecting him?" he barked. "He does not belong here." Officers surrounded him, pulled him back. The boy with the phone tried to run. An officer grabbed him. He dropped the phone. It cracked on the sidewalk. The light from the screen flickered like a dying star. Then, silence again. Except for the radios, and Jamal's breathing, and the sound of justice, maybe finally, trying to find its way through the static. One of the officers approached Jamal's door. Not hurried, not aggressive, careful, measured. "Sir, can you step out for a moment?" Jamal hesitated. The night had already twisted once. It could do it again. But he stepped outside, lamp still in hand. The officer raised a hand gently. "No need for that now," he said. Jamal lowered it, but did not let go. Not yet. The officer's partner stood nearby, taking notes. Others were speaking with Mr. Thompson. He looked different now, less sure, less proud, but still seething, like something had been taken from him, something he thought was his, by right. Jamal focused on the officer in front of him. "We received multiple calls tonight," the officer said, "from neighbors, and from you." Jamal nodded. "They said they were watching me." He showed the photos on his phone. The officer studied them, brows tightening. "These were taken tonight?" Jamal nodded again. "One from the front, one from the back." The officer looked toward the backyard. A flashlight beam swept over the fence line. Then, a shout. "Found something!" An officer emerged from the dark, holding a small black object. A wildlife camera, strapped to a tree, pointed directly at Jamal's back window. Another officer walked the perimeter, found a second, then a third, each aimed at a different angle of Jamal's home. The lead officer turned back to Jamal. "Did you install these?" Jamal shook his head. His mouth had gone dry again. "I have never seen those in my life." The officer nodded, turned to his partner. "Secure these. We will need the footage." Meanwhile, Mr. Thompson shouted from the driveway. "That is my property," he barked. "You cannot take that without a warrant." Another officer approached him, calm, firm. "You placed surveillance devices on someone else's property." "That is a crime, sir." Mr. Thompson's jaw fell slack, then twisted into a snarl. "I was protecting my street." "No," the officer said. "You were stalking your neighbor, and you are under arrest." The handcuffs clicked tight. Loud, final. The boy, his grandson, watched in stunned silence. The phone in his hand buzzed once. He looked down. Jamal saw the screen. A message from a group chat, labeled "Watch Crew," dozens of messages, photos, videos, other houses, other people. Jamal's stomach turned. This was not random, not isolated. It was organized. The officer saw it too, took the phone. "Evidence," he said. Jamal stood there, arms crossed, heart still racing. But in that moment, he did not feel alone anymore. His voice had been heard. His fear had been seen. But just as he stepped back inside, His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. New message. You got one of us. But not all. Jamal stared at the message. The words pulsed on the screen like a heartbeat. You got one of us, but not all. He stood frozen in the hallway, the door still ajar behind him. The sound of police radios murmured outside, but inside, it was suddenly colder. Like something had shifted. He closed the door quietly, double-locked it, then walked through every room, window by window, checking, rechecking. The silence had a new shape now, not peace, not calm, but watching, waiting. He opened his laptop, began searching the words from the group chat. Watch crew, dozens of hits, private neighborhood forums, online message boards, a group claiming to preserve the character of communities, but always with the same language. Watch for change. Report unusual activity. Take your street back. He clicked through images, screenshots of text threads, photos, mostly people of color, some looking confused, some scared, a few angry, all labeled suspicious. Jamal's hands curled into fists. This was not about protection. This was a network. A digital fence. Invisible, but cutting. He clicked on one link. A forum post from another man. Different city. Same story. False reports. Harassment. Cameras. Threats. He read comment after comment, each one more disturbing. We chased one off our block last year. They always play the victim. Keep the pressure on. They crack eventually. Jamal closed the laptop slowly. His reflection stared back in the dark screen. Eyes tired, jaw clenched. He picked up his phone again, opened the message, typed a reply. I am not going anywhere. He hit send. A moment later, 3 dots appeared, typing. Then the reply came. Then we will come to you. Outside, a car rolled slowly down the street. Lights off. No sound. It paused in front of his house, just long enough to be noticed. Then drifted on. Jamal stood at the window, watched the taillights vanish. He did not sleep that night. He sat on the couch, phone in one hand, lamp in the other, waiting, because something told him. This was only the beginning. The sun rose slowly. Golden light spilled through the blinds, but it brought no warmth, no comfort. Jamal had not slept. His eyes were heavy, but his mind sharp, on edge. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind outside, sounded like a threat, a signal. He made coffee. Bitter, strong. Sat at the kitchen table and stared out the window. The neighborhood looked normal, but it felt like a stage. Every lawn, every mailbox, every passing dog walker could be part of it. The watch crew, still watching, still waiting. He opened the forum again, refreshed the page. A new post, anonymous user, captioned, "He is still there." The photo, taken through a car window, of his house, just hours ago. It had to be the car from last night. Comments beneath it, "We need a new strategy. Let him know he is not welcome. Keep the heat up. His kind always runs." Jamal exhaled slowly. He would not run. Not again, but he would not wait to be hunted either. He started recording, his phone camera on. He walked through the house, documenting everything. The messages, the photos, the night before, the officers, the cameras they found. His voice steady, clear. Not for the police, not for the group, but for the world, because silence was no longer an option. He uploaded the video. Title, "They tried to scare me out of my home. Within hours, it began to spread. Shares, comments, support, and then hate. The same usernames, the same group, trying to flood the comments. But this time, people pushed back, report after report. Dozens of accounts flagged. One moderator reached out to Jamal, said the forum was under investigation now. Another victim posted their own video. Then another. A wave began, too big to erase, too loud to ignore. By evening, local news picked it up. Reporters outside his house, microphones, cameras, and just across the street, Karen, peeking through her curtains, her face pale, exposed. Jamal stood on his porch, facing the cameras. He spoke, not just for himself, but for every person who had ever been told they do not belong. Every person watched, chased, silenced. "I am not going anywhere," he said again. This time, the world heard it. But just as the news vans packed up and the street grew quiet, another envelope appeared. No stamp, no return address. Left at his front door. Inside, a single piece of paper, typed cold. "You are safe under the lights, but we own the dark." Jamal stood on the porch, the envelope in one hand, the message echoing in his mind. "You are safe under the lights, but we own the dark." He looked up. The street was quiet now, peaceful, but only on the surface, because he knew some battles are not fought in daylight, they are fought in whispers, in silence, in shadows. He stepped back inside, closed the door, and this time, he did not lock it in fear. He locked it with purpose. Not to keep danger out, but to protect what was his life, his home, his right to exist without question. He had stood firm in the face of hate. He had spoken when silence was safer, and now he would not hide. Not again. The story spread beyond his street, beyond his town. People rallied. Voices rose. Laws were questioned. Policies reviewed. And the watch crew? Their shadows began to shrink. Light reached places they thought were safe, unseen, untouchable. Not anymore. Jamal still walks his neighborhood, still waves to neighbors, still waters his lawn. But now, when people see him, they do not see a stranger. They see a man who stood tall, a man who said enough, a man who reminded the world that the right to feel safe should not depend on the color of your skin. And sometimes, the most powerful protest is simply staying home, right where you belong.